Naked Jehovah's Witnesses thought the world was ending and kidnapped people. The naked kidnappers sped their SUV through a Canadian town while chanting Jehovah, and some had to be tasered several times before they could be arrested. According to new court documents, a group of naked Jehovah's Witnesses who thought Armageddon was occurring kidnapped a family, forced them to chant Jehovah repeatedly while driving down an Alberta road in an SUV, and displayed extreme strength while being repeatedly tasered by the cops. The story, which has baffled people since it happened last November, essentially goes that 5 people, the majority of whom were naked, briefly kidnapped a man, woman, and baby last November in Leduc, a community just south of Edmonton. 3 of the 5, 2 women and 1 man, have since pleaded guilty to unlawful confinement. No one can be named due to a publication ban, as 2 are underage. One of the explanations for the incident, as floated by the father of one of the kidnappers, was that the group had accidentally drunk a type of psychedelic tea that caused a trip so intense they stripped naked and committed a kidnapping. But, according to court documents obtained by the Canadian press, that's not the case. Instead, the agreed statement of fact shows that this may have been caused more so by some good old-fashioned religious fervor than some killer shrooms. To be specific, the kidnappers, according to court documents, were Jehovah's Witnesses, and they believed the Great Tribulation was here. The Great Tribulation is the end-time events for Jehovah's, in which, according to their official website, they believe it will include an attack of the true believers, Jesus coming down and judging those on earth, and culminating in Armageddon, in which those judged adversely by Christ will be destroyed. The group first got together when the mother and 2 daughters went to visit her nephew and his wife on the 2nd day of November last year. The 5, over the next 3 days, seemingly fell into some sort of religious fervor, thinking the end times were upon us, and didn't leave the house or eat. According to the agreed statement of facts, they believed that the final day of Armageddon was November 6th, and set out, like good neighbors, to save those next to them. So the crew, who was for some reason naked at the time, set off. They couldn't change because it was the apocalypse and there wasn't time. 4 who were naked were changing, but they had to leave right away because it was unsafe. So they left without clothes, reads the document. The 5 piled into a BMW SUV driven by the mother, whom, by happenstance, was the only one dressed at the time. They drove through the garage door and went to save their neighbors, a man, his daughter, and her 6-week-old baby. The naked but 1 crew went into their home and forced them into the car. The daughter and her baby went into the back seat, whereas the man was forced into the trunk. The neighbors would later describe the crew as being obviously not in their right minds. The group ordered the man to chant Jehovah 10 times while locked in the trunk, and took off. While driving through the town of Leduc, they all chanted Jehovah, Jehovah, Jehovah together and blasted through a red light. But they didn't really lock the trunk, and the man, instead of chanting the Lord's name, opened it and got out when the vehicle slowed down. His daughter and her baby also escaped, and the 3 were helped by a kindly person in a pickup truck. The witnesses weren't done, though, and rammed the truck with their SUV. They then drove the SUV into a ditch, which is where it would stay until the police arrived. According to the Canadian press, the group continued to chant Jehovah, 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 and refused to get out, as they thought the police officers were some sort of demons or monsters who would kill them. The officers had to use non-lethal action against the group, which the police described as having extreme strength, by the way, which is a symptom of demon possession. A couple of them were unaffected by pepper spray, and 2 others had to be shot with a taser up to 4 times. Eventually, the police arrested them, and we've been trying to piece together what happened ever since. Alongside her charge of unlawful confinement, the mother is also facing a charge of dangerous driving. 3 will be sentenced on December 20th. So as you see, this is an older article, not that old, but I found this to be the top story of 2018.